basic. All of these are tools. Let me move this a little bit. And then each of these panels, each of those is another list of tools, all of which are used for modeling. There's even more down here. It's not covering all of them, see? Even a good modeler won't know all of them. They generally concentrate on 3 or 4 and then use other ones. That's interesting. That's actually showing me if I park my pointer on top of something, it should give me a, if you wait long enough, it's supposed to give you some information about it. Let me see, if I do it here, it should do it. Pen tool. It's not always great amounts of information. It even says control unit sphere, which is something we'll talk about. Now, yesterday we talked about this notion of primitive modeling, which is where you use these pre-made shapes to make things. You're going to have an assignment that I'm going to give you right now. And what that assignment is going to be is it's going to be to take a food item. It has to be something you can have in your hands. And you are going to photorealistically model that food item. Now, there's several reasons I want you to do this. I have a thing of fruit roll-ups. I have some chocolate-covered stroopwafels, which might be the way I go, actually, because it looks like a complicated enough shape. That right there. I have, and these have a, probably wouldn't be a bad idea. I have some cashews. And the nice thing I like about cashews is all sorts of different shapes of them. And I have some Trader Joe's pasta that they call gigli, but I believe is radiatore, but would be mighty hard to model, actually. Let's pull one out just to see. Yes, okay. I might try to model that. The reason I want you to have as a real item is I want you to be able to look at the front, the top, the side of the item as you work with it. The guy you just watched, he's a professional modeler. He can do things from his imagination, but he didn't start there. Just like if you learn to draw, you need reference. I want you to have in your hand actual reference. As a matter of fact, one of your first assignments is going to be to decide what this piece of food is and to post a picture of it. Because we have to be able to compare your picture to your finished result. And your finished result should look exactly like the piece of food you have in your hand. Can't be too simple. Can't do an orange, for example. You couldn't do a can of orange juice. You probably couldn't do a can because, let's face it, we already have that right there. I should say right there. So if I wanted a can, you know, I basically have a can, right? Okay. What we're going to look at today, and I might start with that can, we're going to look at point, edge, and polygon manipulation. I'm not making a can, actually. I'm going to try to make this fruit roll-up, which is still in its bag there, okay? So right away, I don't really want this scene anymore. You know what I can do is I can just go over here and I can delete it. Yes, I do want to delete that. Let me pull this over there. Yes. And now I need an item in my scene. And remember we talked yesterday, one hand on the mouse, one hand on the keyboard. I'm going to hit the N key, which gives me a new mesh. And I'm going to hit the A key, which is going to center my scene. And I'm going to hit the Q key, which is going to drop everything. And I'm going to pick a primitive shape to start making this roll up out of. You know what? I'm going to start with the cylinder. Okay. I want it to be facing me, so I'm going to face my work plane this way, and I'll pull it out. And I want to be roughly to scale, so I want this to be pretty small. If I go over to my settings, let's put it at 0, 0, 0. And I know I want the radius on the X, we'll say, is going to be 10 centimeters, and the Y is going to be 3 centimeters, and the Z is going to be 3 centimeters. And you see it converted it to millimeters for me, but that's fine. I'm going to hit Shift and A, which is going to zoom me in on it. This looks like a good place to start. Sides and segments. How much do I want on it? I want to give it a couple segments so I can move it around a little bit. Good. Polygon type face, cap top. I'm going to put in a quad grid. And cap bottom. No, you know what? I'm going to go radial. I'll show you what radial does. And these are all the settings that we'll have to deal with a cylinder. Okay. I'm going to hit the Q button to drop. Now, what I'm going to talk to you about today is the next step up from primitive modeling. You know how to get a primitive, you know how to move it around and to rotate it and to scale it and to drop the tool again. What you don't know how to do is select the individual points on it and the individual edges and the individual polygons and then modify those. This is called point edge polygon manipulation. So one of the most important parts is I have to know how to select. Selection is almost as important in 3D as it is in Photoshop. And again, I fully believe the most skilled users of Photoshop are the people who can select what they want. That's true in 3D too. Up top here, it says vertices, edges, and polygons. This is what I'm selecting. I'm going to click vertices. And now if I click on it, you'll see that I'm selecting vertices. See that? If I hold down the Shift key, I can add to that selection. If I hold down the Control key, I can subtract from that selection. And if I use the right mouse button, I drag out a square selection. Now, it doesn't default to a square. I put it on square because I prefer that. If I stick my mouse pointer just out here in the middle and hold down the right mouse button, I should get a menu. Under that menu, I have lasso style. The default is lasso, which I don't like. It's like the lasso in Photoshop. I go to rectangle as a default. You can do what you want, but that's where that lives. If you're using the program out of the box, you're probably going to see this when you hold down the right mouse button, a lasso. And I can also hold down the Shift key on that, and I can add to things. I can move around. I could subtract from them with the Control key, like that. Again, I prefer the rectangular selection, so I'm going to stick my mouse pointer out here, right mouse, go back down to lasso style and go to rectangle. And then selecting nothing is the same as deselecting. So I now just dropped everything. That's vertices, this is edges, and this is polygons. Now I happen to know those are also on the 1, 2, and 3 key on the keyboard. 1 is vertices, 2 is edges, 3 is polygons. Notice those are right above the QWER key. The idea is to keep your hand all the way over there on the left side of the keyboard. So again, you have one hand on the mouse, one hand on the keyboard. Now I want to make this to start to look like my, my fruit roll up here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to squash the whole thing. The 5 key is item mode, and then I'm going to hit the R, which is going to let me scale this. And I'm going to, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong window. Okay, that's starting to get in the right place, right? I have to flatten the ends of it because this has flat ends. But I'll probably work on that more later. Although, you know what? I'll work on it now. I need to select some edges. I'm going to hit the Q key to drop that. I'm going to go into edge mode, which is the 2 key. And I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm going to select me some edges. An edge there and an edge there. I want to now see that selection head on. That A key frames up my selection. So it puts that selection in the middle of the screen. Once I have a selection, I can now translate that selection. W, and I'm just pulling the selection now. See that? R key, I'm just scaling the selection. Oh, actually that sort of works for what I wanted to do. Huh. Not the happy accident. Hit the Q key to drop it. I want to do that on the other end. I'll go down there, holding down these shift keys and what have you. I'm going to select these edges again. Oop, I'm going to hold down the shift key when I select them. And I'll hit the W key and I'll pull these out. And I'll scale that a little bigger too. Good. And I'll hit the Q key to drop that. And I'll hit the A key, which will frame up everything, and I'll start to see, am I starting to look like this fruit roll-up? I think I am, actually. I notice the fruit roll-up has a dent in it. So let me go to point mode. I'm going to hit the 1 key, and I'm going to select some points up top here. I'm going to use my right mouse and get all those points like that. And so if I want this to look dented, what I'll do is I'm going to hit the R key, which will scale that selection. Good, that flattens it in a bit. And actually, I'll also scale it. And notice I'm modeling from 0, 0, 0, so everything's in the middle of the screen. And then I'll hit the W key, and I'll push that down a bit. And I'll back out a bit, not that far. Remember, if I get lost, I can always hit the A key, and that should reframe everything. And I'll go back and look at my fruit roll-up and decide, am I getting closer to where I want it to be? Is it doing what I want? It's starting to, that's for sure. I have to, on these ends here, I have to flatten this end a bit. You know what, let's try this. Let's go to polygon mode. I'm going to hit the 3 key. I'm going to select all of these polygons. I'm just drawing on them like that. And let me see if I can flatten that selection. I'm going to hit the R key, and then on this axis, yeah, I'll flatten that a bit. By the way, I just did something that you should see. I'm going to hit Control Z to go back. There we go. Where I'm flattening it from is generally the middle of the selection. And there's something up here called Action Center, which decides that, but we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But if, let's say I'm flattening it this way, but I'd prefer to flatten it from an edge. If I click, I'm now flattening it from there. See that? If I click again over here, I'm now flattening it from there. I could click anywhere and use that as a reference point. So wherever you click, the default should put it in the center of your selection, and then if you click anywhere after it, it will do that operation, be it a move, be it a rotate, from that location. I'm going to hit the space bar. The space bar is a good way to get out of anything. It's also worth noting that Moto saves my selection. So up top here it says I'm in polygon selection. Those are my polygons. If I hit the 2 key, that's my edge selection. And actually I'll make an edge selection just so we have it. And if I hit the 1 key, that's my point selection. Point selection, edge selection, polygon selection. And they all stay in there until I remove them. And if I want to go back to object mode, I hit the 5 key, which selects the whole model, and then I can use the A key. I could use the scale, rotate, and translate from there if I wanted to. So this is about manipulating points, edges, and polygons in an attempt to make a photorealistic version of a piece of food you have in your house. Okay, you got to go hit the cupboards. I want you to go grab something. Can't be a simple primitive. And then you're going to put a picture of it up here for us. And that's what you're going to try to model over the next couple of weeks. You're going to try to make a photorealistic version of it. That's the goal. I should be able to look on my computer screen from your original and this one, and they should look exactly the same. The computer has the power to do it. And we're slowly going to learn the tools that enable us to, okay? Okay. I'm going to step out now. We can still ask questions and everything. We'll still be here, and I'm going to post this as a video, which has all the keystrokes and what have you in it.